Wow.
Okay. That was
Wow.
right.
I'm speechless.
When the goat's away, the kids will play. And that's exactly what we saw at the Superbet Rapid and Blitz. This is a game by Fabiano Caruana, just one of a number which led him to do something special at this tournament. More on that one later. Who's his opponent for this game? Well, the one and only king of Twitter, Anish Giri. Here he is, pictured with Gukeshe. More on that story can be found on his Twitter page, or X. We're diving in. He's got the white pieces. This is Blitz chess on the final day, penultimate round, and Giri opens with an English. Should he have played a Spanish in light of the football last night, or soccer? Sadly, my own team went down, but deserved for the Spanish right. English on the board here. Fabi goes for G6. Both players build themselves a banana hammock here, lovely chess, and they fianchetto the bishops. One hits the Milky Way, the other hits the chocolate slide, and now both players castle. Their chess coaches onlooking with pride and admiration. There's a safe king, just 6 moves in. And now one of our favourite moves, pawn to c-ships. We love it on Epic Cheese. Giri now takes the centre, it's under siege, and bishop f5 from Fabi. Carries on developing. Great to see him playing a King's Indian system. A lot of fun, and now anyone for a knight manoeuvre. That one's heading round to a new square. Often it comes to d3 to support things like c5 in King's Indian structures, but will it go there this game? All to come. e5 played. Now Giri takes the centre, very thematic, keeps that bishop on g7 blunted by its own pawn. We get takes on d5, and takes with the pawn is looking quite natural. But Giri takes with the knight here. He wants to dominate the d5 square, and taking immediately is best. We're going to see why. Knight c6 was played instead, but it allows Giri to go bishop g5. Pinning this knight to the queen and preparing, well, we're going to see. Bishop e6 now played to fight for the important d5 square. We get knight c2 looking to support its brother, and now this bishop captures. Of course, you don't go with the pawn, plug the hole. That's not what Giri's playing for. So he takes with the bishop and queen b6. Breaks the pin, prepares to eliminate that one. So what do? Bishop takes on f6, of course. Leave black with the bad bishop. Rotate the knight into this square if you possibly can. That's what Giri's playing for, the positional light squared grip. So the pawn covered on b2. Knight e7 back, hitting the bishop. It retreats to g2, of course, and now these are the moves that the Silicon Overlord is calling for. That's the way to go. But Fabi instead goes for knight f5 here, and we're going to pretty much stick with this game. It's blitz chess, it's over the board, fast and furious, don't want to get stuck down all the rabbit holes. So this one was played. Now we see queen d3, preparing to double on the head of that backwards d6 pawn, and now how about this from Fabi? He goes pawn h5. But is this premature attaculation? It's a common problem, affects many chess players. Fabi actually has a history with this problem.
And I was hoping that he would go for
Say it.
a premature attack in the game. But he played pretty solidly. He took on c5 and went for the ending, and I think it was just a boring draw.
Right now, we're going to cut this part and then go on to this next question.
Apparently, we believe he prematurely attacked me, but then.
What did he miss? How were you able to equalize so easily?
I mean, White has a. What?
How did you equalize so easily? This question.
Is he suffering a game right now? Who knows, right? But we don't fully find out, because after bishop e4, attacking the knight, it drops back to e7, knight e3, looking to dominate d5, king g7, well, Giri goes h4. Just shuts down any more h-file nonsense. We've got a symmetrical pawn structure there on the king side, and now the overlord wants to bring a rook to the centre. That's the preferred way of stock squid. But instead we see a5. Going for some queenside play, but a3, a4, and before Fabi can do anything else, this pawn is pushed, and you either leave the centre completely under siege, or you take en passant. Obviously Fabi does it, he wants to bellow it in his best French accent, but now rook takes, queen goes, pawn drops. This is a huge position for Anish Giri. Rook a7 played, now bishop e4, and you've got this outside passer, and this one's not long for this world. We get rook d8 covering, now rook d1 intensifying, rook a4, glimmer of hope for Fabi. He sits on the head of the pawns like a sumo wrestler, and after king g2, rook d7 prepares to double. You couldn't have done it via a8. Now we get queen c3, the rooks double, stacking up the two towers, and Giri just comes back. Little shuffle with the queen there, you take on a3, I'll take on d8, or d6 rather. It's a playable line, but Fabi decides to go knight c8, cover his backwards pawn. Now we get rook a1 covering. Like said, we're not going to explore every question mark, we'll stick with the game. Knight b6 hits that c pawn, and rook b4 attacks. It looks like a blunder, takes. Pawn takes. Are you not just losing this one here? Well, no, the queen is under fire. You have to move it, otherwise you're going to lose a queen, right? And if you take here, then you take here. So this is no good. You'd have to play here, and this is just epic for white. So you can't touch this rook. Instead, we see queen d4. This hits the rook in the corner. Best for Anish Giri is rook d1, but he doesn't play it. He takes on a4. Rook recaptures here, and now he goes rook b1, counter-attacking on the knight. Bishop d8 playable, or this move of rook takes a3. Lovely idea, distract the queen, then go queen takes with check, and not only pick up a bishop, pick up a loose rook. So after takes here, the rook couldn't be touched by the queen, different game. But none of it played. Fabi goes rook a7 here, and it allows Giri to now take on d4, great move, pawn recaptures, and pick up on b6. And the big trouble here is that when Fabi recoups his piece, you can now play pawn f4. Keep your structure intact, march in the king, and yes, we see this exchange of pawns, but the red carpet now rolled out for the c-pawn. Bishop e7 played, hits the important dark squares. The king now covers the bishop, and bishop d5, centralizing monster. Now Anish Giri soon going to be 2 pawns ahead. He could immediately take, but he first goes rook c7 to cover bishop c5, rook c3, he waits a move, and now the rook gives ground. If you leave that c-file, well then of course you're going to allow this pawn to march. So this was played, pawn drops, 2 pawns to the good for Giri, but now we get this check, the king back to f2, f5 on the board, and now here the conversion goes a bit wrong. You should check or go rook c6, long term, push e4, force black to take, and then you get a weakness on g6, or if you don't take, you take here, you get a weakness on f5. King eventually tries to march in, but okay, it wasn't played. We get bishop f3, and suddenly Fabi starts coming a bit back into the game on those dark squares. The king steps back, bishop d4, makes its way to d2, rook gives ground, but now c5 comes, and it's the right idea, but the wrong timing. Subtle stuff, but Fabi gets in with the bishop, c6, bishop takes, and rook d7. 3 imprecisions in a row from Anish Giri, and suddenly it's roughly level. Fabi munching on pawns and doing it with check. The king goes, and now we see this rook a5 move to cover that pawn advancing. You know, if c7 there, then you can go rook c5 check, pick up the pawn. You know, massive bar swing. What did the engine want? Well, it says bishop e5 is best, or king e8, but okay, we're running with the game. This one was on the board. Now we see the move of king to d3, given a massive miss once more. King b3 more precise apparently, to stop rook a4, cutting the king, but of course that move was missed. Rook c5 played instead. Now king d4 hits that rook, rook c1, and you should keep marching with the king, but Giri goes bishop d5. Bishop g3 played. Now you can go bishop c4 to try and cut this rook's influence, then push c7, but there's a check, different game. Instead we get pawn e3, king e8 on the board, bishop f7 check, and we get this amazing munching of pawns now on the king side. Bishop d5 technically best, keep this amazing asset, but instead we see takes here. It allows Fabi to pick up the most dangerous pawn in the position. Giri had to keep that one, and now we get this liquidation. Giri ends up with an extra pawn here, but Fabi's got the dart squared grip. Things are not over though, twists to come right. Giri starts pushing, playing on seconds here. Can he make that breakthrough? There's pure drama to come. This should be a 2-result game, right? Either Giri wins it or we get a draw. It goes on and on here, slow progress. This is a 100-move game. We're flicking through. Eventually the e-pawn starts making some progress, but not just yet. Hold your horses, couple more checks. There it goes. Now the rook invades. Eventually the pawn gets all the way to e6 here, and that is when the drama really kicks off. It's on the way, here it comes, pawn e6 on the board, and Fabi now goes bishop f6. Does it with a whoosh, of course, like many top professionals do when they move, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, but it seems to have thrown Giri slightly, because he now makes a terrible blunder. He could play a million moves to keep it level, but he plays the move of king g6. You know, you take me, I take you. That must presumably still be a draw as well, but he's overlooked a massive tactical issue. And of course Fabi plays it. Rook g7 check. King goes and an entire rook drops. Giri's got nothing to do but resign the game.
Anything can happen when this type of
Oh my
draw.
gosh, it's a 3-result game and he lost his rook.
He's lost his rook.
Oh, Anish. Lose.
Wow.
Okay. That was
Wow.
right.
I'm speechless.
Bit of a fluky one for Fabi there, but he played great all tournament, stuck in there, and this is what then happened. He didn't just win the tournament, he won it with 5 rounds to spare, with a score of 26. That's never been done since Magnus Carlsen once did it. Crazy points tally there for Fabiano Caruana. Slightly weaker field than usual, but still, he got the job done and in some style. Improved his blitz skills. Hope you enjoyed this one. Smash subscribe if you did. And for an exceptional game between Hikaru and a young 10-year-old prodigy who's all over Twitter right now, Kramnik started tweeting and all sorts, check out the video on screen. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.